Hey everybody, welcome back to Star Wars Minute. It's the daily podcast where we analyze, scrutinize, and celebrate the Star Wars movies 1 minute at a time. I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.com.
This is Alex Robinson from AlexRobinson.fun.
And I'm Steele Saunders, who also has fun on the Steele Wars podcast and YouTube channel.
Thanks for coming back again, Steele, even though now that the we still have some more kind of Luke and Rey, Kylo and Rey conversation, but Luke has left the building, kind of, as far as I can tell. I think we're done with him, right? But not within the course of the movie, but in the course of our building, the building that is this show, Star Wars Minute.
I was gonna say, boy, your expectations going to be subverted. He's all up in this piece.
Every time he comes back, you're like, oh, look, it's Luke.
What's that guy doing back here? I remember him from the other movie.
To jump forward though, when the Falcon takes off and Luke watches it, I remember in the theater just like going, "What? How does this work out? Like, how he's got to be in the film again, but how?"
Yeah.
Well, and they throw you. We'll get to it, but we haven't been dealing much with spoilers, but I do love that they give you that red herring. That, well, it's almost literally it's Red 5 and it's underwater. It's almost literally a red herring. But that, like, you leave him there with his ship. You saw that his ship is there, so you're like, he could come back flying in the X-wing. But then they throw it around. They change it up. Expectations undermined.
It was a bubble. It was Finn's medical unit.
Exactly. Well, all of this is just a hallucination that Finn has in that magic bubble.
Wow.
Oh,
I wonder, does that? Oh boy, hang on. We're gonna have to dig further into that. Do we know?
You're becoming very well suited for YouTube.
Is there anything that would contradict that? If you said that everything that happens in this movie was a bubble hallucination, I don't know. We'll have to think about it. We'll when we get, again, 2 years from now, when we do Rise of Skywalker, we will think. We'll have to keep that bubble hallucination in mind.
Okay.
But today,
I thought you were gonna say like Attack the Block happens while Finn is dreaming in the bubble. I thought you were gonna go that direction.
Nice.
Yeah, I like your note. Remember to ruin an episode next season.
Right. Or it's not just gonna be one episode. It's here we're here to hopefully not ruin minute 74 of Star Wars Episode 8: The Last Jedi. 74 starts with Kylo Ren saying, "Kill it if you have to." It's like, smoke him if you got him. Kill it if you have to.
One of the great sort of misunderstood quotes of the film.
Oh, we're gonna dig into that for
great.
a second. 74 ends with Rey going for a swim. There we go. Now we can dig into.
I apologize. I was too eager.
It's all right.
The thing with this film is it is one of my favorite ones, and I think it's in the top 2 best of the 9 saga films. I find they're the easiest to judge against each other. I'd say, like, Jedi is my favorite, but of the original, I think Empire is the best one. But it's, I don't know, it's so, the volume's so turned up. It's hard to have fun. I find myself defending it more than enjoying it while we talk about it, sort of thing.
Right.
It's and that's do you know what I mean? If whoever lucks out with those red curtains is going to have a ball. Oh my god, euphoria.
Well, it is a funny, it's part of the problem that we faced, kind of driving straight ahead and keep doing a movie every year, that we run into this. Okay, the movies that we're talking about now, we haven't sat on for 40 years or even 20 years when since the original trilogy or the prequels. It's just like, oh, this stuff just came out like while we were doing the show, so it's like it's we're still kind of within the zeitgeist to a certain extent, so it's hard to get that same perspective that we would have had if we had chosen to take a break of 10, 20 years before doing it. But that just gives us, now we can go back, when we're in our 70s and go do special editions of our own show.
Because before this film and the outcome of, like, the reaction to it, if someone said Star Wars or asked if I did a Star Wars podcast, I heard you the Star Wars, whatever. Right. I'd be so up for just talk, like anyone I would just talk about Star Wars with. And afterwards, I'm just like, I just can't be bothered going through if you're going to tell me about how Laura Dern shouldn't have bossed Poe Dameron around or something like. It's just I'm sort of like, I can't. It became a bit less fun to be and that's why when you could just gush about Baby Yoda, it was like, we're back. Let's talk some Star Wars. And then other things have changed that a little bit as well.
Right, but it was particularly odd to be like. In that thing to be, talking to somebody and be like, oh yeah, you do a Star Wars show. What do you think of the Last Jedi? And then you have to be like, no, I know what I like. How much do I want to talk about my true feelings about this to this person that it would not only like, I know who are they, what are they, what's their perspective on this, and like, how do I either only have parts of the conversation that I want to have or not have a conversation about this at all. But it was an odd thing socially.
And I have said to people, it's like, you don't understand. I know all the points you're about to make. Like, I'm aware of them, and I've argued those points with so many other people. And so I'm like, I get where you're coming from, but this I have no interest in this conversation ever. Like, I can't, please. just let my kid play in the park, please.
That's like with my brother. He's a casual Star Wars fan, and he's loved all of Disney movies. Like, he comes out of me like, that was awesome. Like, and he asks me like what I think, and it's almost like it's almost like we're seeing totally different movies. Like, I'm this is my job. I have to really think intensely about Star Wars a lot, whereas he can just kind of go in, not think of, so I don't want to be like, well, I thought it was good, but I thought this point was, because I don't want to ruin it for him by pointing out little nitpicky things that a casual person wouldn't notice. So,
yeah, that's like me watching Marvel. I'm just like, just enjoy it. It's like, yeah, sweet. Wings.
Yeah. So let the past die. Kill it if you have to.
Yes.
Probably one of the most quoted lines, both in a good way, both people being pro the movie and being anti the movie, and everywhere in between.
Yeah, it suits whatever your belief is. Mm-hmm. But yeah, a lot of people see it as, or mistake it as like, this is what Kylo Ren, no, this is what Rian Johnson or Lucasfilm is saying. Right. Like it's like, it is the villain in the film, right. And it's sort of, and it does, as I say, bounce back. It does,
but in a weird way, it does parallel what Luke was saying, which is that, like, forget the Jedi. That's all junk. Like,
right.
Like, to be interested in that stuff is a dead end. Like, you should, although Luke doesn't really have what you should do going forward. He just says, like, the Jedi sucked. So don't go down that road.
Yeah. I like the line, but when you think about it, it does, like, Kylo Ren probably would have been better off not saying it. Yeah.
Well, but it also fits with where he's, again, going back to his character change, however temporary it might be. His he was just, chewed out by Snoke and has turned into a different thing. So he's like, all right, he's telling himself this as much as he's telling Rey this. Same thing where he's just like, hey, stop.
Okay,
I was just obsessed with Darth Vader for a while, and now I'm totally moving on, and I'm doing it's great. It feels great. You got to do it. Just let the past die. Don't be obsessed with things and people that you were obsessed. Let him die. It's great. And he's totally in this mindset now of like, this is where his character is going. And then would he say that later on? Who knows? But
that's a very good explanation.
Oh, thank you.
I
I
solved
think it
that
also
one.
has the feeling of like a kid, like he was really super into Star Wars, and then someone just made fun of him for being into Star Wars, and now he's like, you shouldn't be into Star Wars. Like he's kind of embarrassed that he was that much into the past.
Right.
So he's chastising Rey because like, it's like,
Wow.
don't make any sense.
It's like art imitating life. Everything you just said. That was like.
So down the road, we can eventually...
So you're saying the character of Kylo Ren was into Star Wars and was upset he got teased about being into Star Wars.
Yes.
And then now this girl's into Star Wars. He's trying to make her pay some toll or price.
Make her feel bad for being into Star Wars.
The meta-ness of this film is it's meta as it is a look into the future.
In a way, isn't...
In a way.
Could Let the Past Die, is that kind of almost a variation of No Attachments? Sort of like, could Yoda have said, let the past die, and that seemed consistent with Jedi? I guess Yoda tries to blow up the sacred text, so in a way, he's also agreeing with that the past is junk.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm too scared because Peter's explanation of it was so good. I'm now worried that you're going to like topple like the juggling he just did, and I'm just like,
sorry. Well, good. I'm glad you enjoyed the movie. Let's move on to the swamp hole.
Well, it's also it's an interesting thing.
The kill it part seems too aggressive for a Jedi, but ignoring the past does seem like it could be it definitely seems like a very Buddhist kind of thing to say, that the past is irrelevant.
Not ignoring it, but letting it die. You know what I mean? Remember it, but let it die. Don't try to, it's like the same thing with, with sitcoms and comic book characters. It's just like, you know what? Like, whatever they do to bring back Firefly is not going to be as good as what you think that them bringing back Firefly is going to be like. So just let it die. Just appreciate what you have there and move on. You know what I mean? Like, look at what happened with all this other
bring back
stuff.
Firefly? Is that still a thing?
I don't know. I'm just using that as an example of one that they
no,
didn't
I know what
actually,
you mean, though, but just as a side thing, is that still
that
a
people
thing?
kept saying that they should do and then they haven't done. So
they should do Star Wars prequels.
I feel like demand for it's dropped off recently.
Oh yeah,
probably.
That too.
So they honored his advice. They let the past die.
There you go.
But those that do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. What about that fortune-telling cookie thing?
Right.
I think they're doomed to repeat it no matter what happens. So, ring theory.
Well, I do love. Oh, and then it gets followed up with the kill it if you have to become what you are meant to be, which then that adds a whole nother wrinkle. To me, it kind of undermines that a little bit because there's still this. The past still does have a hold. There's still a sway. There's still a, it's almost like the prophecy. It's almost like you're the chosen one, kind of like echoes of the chosen one being like to become what you were meant to be. And I don't like that being but again, I'm going to write there again on a fortune cookie thing. I'm going to stick it up here for 2 years from now. We'll come back to that line 2 years from now again. In that kind of, becoming what you are meant to be versus, becoming what you are and what you do and what you be.
Well, as much as I loathe to pretend anything's foreshadowed when it's not, there does sort of say what happens at the end of The Rise of Skywalker. She did kill the past with the two saber things. So if you wanted to, I can never fan fiction that. Like, oh, isn't it cool how these two you can pretend they mean, it's like, and then there's the argument about art is like the author's intent or the perception of the intent and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
But it does fit if you get excited about such stretches of the imagination.
So immediately after this, and presumably it seems like Rey was on her way to go to the swamp hole.
The seaweed hole?
Yeah, when she was interrupted by the call.
I think she was going off to do something else, but then this call kind of,
What else is she going to do? It's like the middle of the night.
I don't know. Everybody's doing. I thought like Luke was going to call the Force because he was going to check on the Force because he thought Rey was asleep, but then Rey's out and like doing stuff.
I like that at night everyone's secretly doing all these secret Force calls.
Right, yeah.
That they think the other people don't know about.
But I felt like the Force called her over to the hole.
Yeah.
But before the when she was asleep in her bed and the call to her, and then she was on her way and got interrupted, or after she was done with her call, then she got called over.
Maybe it's a sweet game of Force, warmer, colder. Do you know what I mean? It's just like she's like going, oh, I have to get up. That's one thing. I have to go up this way, that way, and stuff. That's interesting though. Is like, where was she going?
Right.
What was the deal?
Or maybe she was going back to the Falcon or something. I don't know.
Or maybe it was the combination of her wanting to go to the swamp hole and Luke doing his thing that made Palpatine connect them.
Right.
She's getting some last minute steps in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there you go. She's looking at her Fitbit, being like, "Got to climb that one more time."
On a meta level, go ahead, Pete.
We hear it first. So at the end of the call, we hear the swamp hole before she goes there, which I love because that to me sounds like because that the end of the call kind of brings her to, kind of opening up this channel between Rey and Kylo Ren to be this, to kind of put her in touch with the dark side, quote unquote, then makes her also makes her more susceptible to the call of the seaweed hole. And so she goes like, okay.
Call of the seaweed hole.
Oh, I got it. Okay. So now that I'm done with this call, I can still hear there's that thing. Let me go check that out. And also what Kylo just said kind of invigorates her to go do that, where she's like, he's saying, hey, your parents, threw you away like garbage. And she's like, no, I need, because when she first discovered the seaweed hole, Luke said it's showing you what you need. And she knows that if she can go there to find her origins, she thinks that she can go there to find her origins. So when Kylo says, hey, your parents threw you away like garbage, she's like, no, I'm going to go to the seaweed hole and find out I'm going to go look them up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot that it got hinted at before, but that seaweed hole, that's a piece of work. Whoever worked on the seaweed hole deserves just something about it. It's
yeah.
Did the fact that what is the significance, do you think, of like, could this have been, is there a significance that this happens right before she goes into the seaweed hole? Like as opposed to the fact that she has that conversation with Kylo Ren and then immediately goes to the sea and then learns about her parentage and everything or whatever. If there had the conversation with Kylo Ren and then cut back to the Canto Bight adventure and then show the seaweed hole, is it intentional that happens right before she goes in? Does that influence like what she sees in the swamp hole?
Yeah, I think so. I think because that's because he put that in her head that she needs to find her origins in there. And I think if we had gone, from our perspective, like, would we have been more
from a movie making perspective, is there significance to the fact that those two scenes happen segues one into the other, as opposed to having the scene with Luke doing his meditation in between there or something? You know what I mean?
I think it's more just to maintain the thought. You know what I mean? Which one thing leads to another here, and I think it's already. It kind of took me until watching it just now to put that together. Mm-hmm. So I think if those two scenes were separate, it would have been me looking through my notes, being like, "Why is she going to the seaweed? Oh, look! Turns out like 5 minutes ago, she, Kylo Ren told her to let the past die."
Right.
Yeah, I feel like if they cut, the Canto Bight thing, it's one solid chunk, and so is this. And if they intertwined, it'd be such different tones of things, like to follow, but. They maybe go slightly too deep in either direction, because there is a lot of both in a row. But
and it kind of reminds me of how in Empire, when Yoda, before Luke goes into his version of the swamp hole, Yoda says, only what you take with you. Obviously you guys know that line. So in a way, she is taking that in with her, that conversation with Kylo Ren. That's her blaster that she's going into the hole with. That's kind of like occupying her brain.
So. And we don't cut away from that, right? When Luke discovering the magic cave, the magic tree, then he discovers it, goes in. We see Yoda be like, he has this whole thing, and then we cut away, right? That's all one solid clip, and we don't go.
Yeah, that wouldn't work, I think, if you cut it up into multiple.
No.
All right. Yeah. So she falls in the hole.
Does she fall? Does it pull her? Does she jump in? There's 3 options here, A, B, C.
I think it's like when you hold something near a vacuum and you're expecting it to suck it, but it just... no, because she probably wasn't expecting to get sucked in. But I think she was leaning in and it was just like, then it was... You're done, son.
Right.
I feel like she was pulled in via the Force somehow.
Well,
the Force kind of sucked her into it.
So maybe it's like a combination of that. She was like, "Oh, I want to check out what's in here," and she's leaning into it a little bit, but then she wasn't expecting to get pulled in. So
it was
suddenly,
like the
what's
that called? Event horizon, where once she goes to a certain point, there's no way she could have. She definitely would have been pulled in no matter what.
Right.
And she was in the water, which made me wonder if Rey does. Did we ever bring up if she knows how to swim or not?
I feel like, did that come up somehow? Was she in the water before?
Maybe if we asked if Luke knew how to swim, because Luke living on a water planet.
When she, in the trailer, she falls into the water or comes out of the water, and that was something that I predicted people would be upset about, that she's doing some swimming mission. And everyone afterwards going to be like, how does she swim? How does she swim? But it's debatable how well she swims, because she does come up and just... So it's... But there's a Simpson-esque Easter egg in here. When she goes underwater, there's a skeleton of
some kind of skull on the ground.
Yeah, like whenever they go underground in The Simpsons, there's always like an alien ship or a dinosaur or something.
They did that earlier in this movie, so it's kind of like
when we saw the skeleton. What I want to see this skull now. I haven't seen it.
It's like on the lower right.
It's at second 56.
That's how far we're breaking it down.
Star Wars second.
Well, again, that's the Oh, my screen is pretty dark right now too, though. Yeah, I can't see anything there. Although, oh yeah, look at that. There's a skull under the water. You mean?
It's a Krayt dragon skull.
I wonder if that is a creature that lives in the water is that like one of the fish that Luke kills that swam in here, or is that another alien that was looking for
Force answers?
Yeah, Force answers. Was that a Jedi pupil that fell down and didn't make it?
It's a skeleton of, there's a lizardy, fishy thing that you see in a faraway shot, and it's one of those, a skeleton of that.
You do know that, or that's your speculation?
No, I'm pretty sure I know that. Like, okay. I'm almost certain that's, I know it's like of something, and yeah, I'm pretty sure that's just remembering it all. Because there's like an effect shot, and you can see it. It's quite subtle. There's sort of like a space creature swimming in the water.
Serpent. Yeah. That's weird to me, because I would have assumed that that there was only one entrance to the swamp hole. Like the fact that there are multiple entrances and creatures can go in there, that's weird to me.
That is one of my I'm pulling from notes for tomorrow, but the fact that it does it seems like it's open to the outside, through not only through the water, but you can see the daylight, once it comes through here. It makes me think like, well, why is that is it different if you go through, like if you were to climb around and go through, or like jetpack over and go through that crack, would you not see everything? But if you go through the seaweed hole, you do get everything, like the Force only counts.
Did that dragon see its own reflection and learn about its parents when it wandered into the sea hole?
Well, and that's the other, like, what about porgs? Do porgs go through there? Do porgs touch the mirror and see just a bunch of porgs?
Oh, what about the one that looked in the mirror and just saw like a roast chicken?
Oh, yeah, totally.
It's like, oh, no.
And then he was like, I'm hungry. And he bonked his head into it.
And then the lightsaber shot out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, since I'm already borrowing from tomorrow's minutes, I think that's it for 74. Steele, do you have anything specific to this minute?
No, we've exposed some bones and
We certainly
and what more do you need for an episode?
Space bones. Bones.
Well, what more do you need from an episode? Maybe you need to check out more of us, more of our episodes. More of Alex and I talking to people like Steele. Steele, have you been on a weekend show with us? I think you have. I think we've done one.
I don't think I've ever done the weekend one.
Maybe not. Well, we'll have to rectify that soon.
Okay.
If you want to hear our weekend shows, everybody, we've done over 300 at this point. Shows that pop up called Star Wars Minute Weekend Edition that you can get if you support us on Patreon. StarWarsMinute.com/Patreon. You go there, and every week we put at least one episode on there, often two. And so you can live with us in your heads.
Stop talking
every day. And other than that, come back here tomorrow for another episode of Star Wars Minute.
Star Wars Minute.